The Coalition fleet arrived 6 days after the battle. 12 cruisers emerged from hyperspace and formed a blockade around the Eternal Sentinel. They didn't open fire, but their weapons were charged and ready. The message was clear. The Coalition wasn't asking for surrender. They were demanding it. Daewon was still weak from the neural link strain, but he forced himself to walk to the command center. Bora supported him, watching him with concern. The past few days had been quiet. Too quiet. They had used the time to stabilize the ship's systems and repair the worst damage from the battle. But everyone knew the Coalition would come. Admiral Kyung-soo's face appeared on the main screen. He was an older man with gray hair and hard eyes that had seen many wars. "I am Admiral Kyung-soo of the Coalition Defense Force. You are ordered to power down all systems and prepare for boarding. The vessel known as Eternal Sentinel is in violation of Coalition law and will be seized." "Admiral," Daewon said, trying to keep his voice steady. "This ship saved Coalition lives. We destroyed a Krell fleet that threatened the outer fringe." "I'm aware of what happened," Kyung-soo replied. "I've watched the battle recordings. What you did was impressive. It was also terrifying. You proved exactly why Titan-class battleships were banned. Too much power in too few hands. No individual should control a weapon that devastating." Captain Tae-yang stepped forward. "Sir, I was there. I fought beside them. The ship could have destroyed my cruiser when we first met. Instead, she saved us from the Krell. These people aren't terrorists. They're heroes." "That may be true," Kyung-soo said. "But the law exists for good reasons. The Void Wars taught us that ships like this cause more problems than they solve." "I'm sorry, Captain Tae-yang, but my orders are clear." A new voice joined the conversation. A woman's face appeared on a secondary screen. She was young, professional, and carried herself with political authority. "Admiral Kyung-soo, I am Counselor Sora, representing Earth's interests in the Coalition Council. Before you seize this vessel, there are matters we must discuss." The Admiral looked annoyed but nodded. "Counselor," Sora turned her attention to Daewon. "Mr. Daewon, your actions have created quite a situation. The Coalition Council has been in emergency session for 3 days. We're divided on what to do with you in the Eternal Sentinel." "What are my options?" Daewon asked. "2 official options," Sora said. "First, you surrender the ship voluntarily. We will decommission it safely and compensate you handsomely. You return to your life as a mechanic, considerably wealthier and with no criminal charges. Second, you accept a commission in the Coalition Navy. The Eternal Sentinel becomes humanity's flagship. You remain as captain, but under strict oversight and with a full military crew." "Those are both ways of taking the ship away from me," Daewon said. "Yes," Sora admitted, "because the Council cannot allow an individual citizen to control something this powerful. Surely you understand that." Daewon looked around the command center. Bora watched him quietly. Captain Tae-yang looked troubled, and in the back of his mind he could feel Hana's presence. She was afraid. Afraid of being dismantled, afraid of dying after fighting so hard to survive. "What if I refuse both options?" Daewon asked. Admiral Kyung-soo's expression hardened. "Then you become an enemy of the Coalition. We will destroy the Eternal Sentinel and arrest you for treason." Before anyone could respond, Jiwoo's voice interrupted. New contacts entering the sector. Reading as military vessels. Not Coalition signatures. The tactical displays lit up with red markers. Ships were emerging from hyperspace at the sector's edge. Dozens of them. More than the Coalition blockade. The sensor data resolved, showing ship classifications and identifying markers. "Hegemony of Karn," Admiral Kyung-soo said quietly. "This complicates things." Sora looked at something off-screen, then back at the group. "I'm receiving their transmission now. The Hegemony has declared the Eternal Sentinel a threat to regional stability. They're demanding the ship be destroyed immediately or they will do it themselves." "They watched the battle footage too," Captain Tae-yang said. "They know what a Titan-class ship can do. They're afraid." The Hegemony of Karn was one of the major powers beyond Coalition space. Not allies, not quite enemies, but always aggressive and expansionist. They had been quiet for years, building their forces. Now they saw the Eternal Sentinel as a threat that needed to be eliminated before it could be used against them. The Hegemony commander sent a message. It was translated automatically. "Coalition forces, withdraw immediately or be considered hostile. We have come to destroy the ancient warship. This is not negotiable." Admiral Kyung-soo closed his eyes briefly, clearly weighing his options. "If the Hegemony attacks, we have to respond. But we're outnumbered. And if this turns into a shooting war, thousands will die. Daewon felt something shift in his mind. Hana was speaking to him through their neural link, too quietly for the others to hear. She was showing him sensor data, tactical assessments, possible strategies. She was asking him a question without words. Would he fight? Would he protect the coalition, even if they planned to take her away? He thought about the past month, finding Hana alone in the darkness, working to restore her systems, fighting beside her against the Krell, the bond they had formed deeper than anything he had experienced with another being. She had saved his life. Could he abandon her now? "Admiral," Daewon said, "if I fight the hegemony fleet, if I protect coalition space, will you reconsider your orders?" Kyung-soo looked at him for a long moment. "You want to negotiate?" "I want to propose a third option," Daewon said. "The Eternal Sentinel operates independently, not as a coalition ship but as a protector of the outer fringe. I remain as captain. You give me the resources to fully restore the ship and recruit a proper crew. In exchange, I defend coalition territory when called upon." "You want to be a free agent with a superweapon," Sora said. "That's even more dangerous than the first two options, is it?" Daewon asked. "Look at what's happening right now. The hegemony came here because they're afraid of this ship. If it's independent neutral, then it's not a coalition weapon pointed at them. It's just a guard protecting innocent people. That's less threatening than making it an official military asset." Admiral Kyung-soo was quiet, thinking. Finally he spoke. "I can't approve this. The council would need to vote." "Then call them," Daewon said. "But do it fast. The hegemony fleet is getting closer." The next hour was tense. Councilor Sora arranged an emergency council session. She argued Daewon's case, pointing out that the outer fringe needed protection that the coalition couldn't provide with its current resources. She emphasized that Daewon had proven his intentions were good by fighting the Krell instead of joining them. Captain Tae-yang added his testimony, describing how the Eternal Sentinel had saved his crew. Bora spoke about the advanced technology in the ship and how much the coalition could learn from studying it if they maintained a cooperative relationship instead of a hostile one. Finally, the council voted. It was close, but they approved the proposal. Daewon would remain as captain of the Eternal Sentinel. The ship would be independent but aligned with coalition interests. Resources would be provided to complete the restoration. Admiral Kyung-soo didn't look happy, but he accepted the decision. "Don't make me regret this," he told Daewon. "The moment you abuse this power, I will personally hunt you down." "Understood," Daewon said. The immediate problem was the hegemony fleet. They were still advancing, demanding the Eternal Sentinel's destruction. Councilor Sora opened communications with them, explaining the new arrangement. The hegemony commander was skeptical. "How do we know this ship won't be used against us?" he demanded. Daewon spoke directly to him. "Because I'm not a conqueror. I'm a mechanic who fixed something broken. This ship will defend the outer fringe. If you don't attack coalition space, you have nothing to fear from me." "Words are cheap," the hegemony commander replied. "Then watch what I do." "Not what I say," Daewon answered. The hegemony fleet held position for 2 hours, clearly debating their options. Fighting the coalition blockade plus the Eternal Sentinel would be costly, even if they won. Finally, they withdrew, but not before the commander sent a final message. "We will be watching, human. If your ship threatens the hegemony, we will return in force." As the crisis ended, Daewon sat in the captain's chair and let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. It was over. The Eternal Sentinel was free. He was free, but the responsibility of what came next weighed heavily on him. Over the following months, things changed rapidly. Bora accepted the position of chief engineer permanently. She loved the ship's technology too much to leave. Captain Tae-yang took a leave from the Coalition Navy to serve as tactical advisor. He said someone needed to keep Daewon from getting himself killed. Volunteers arrived from across the Coalition, engineers who wanted to work with Titan-class technology, weapons specialists eager to serve on a legendary battleship, even some former military personnel looking for a new purpose. Slowly, the Eternal Sentinel's crew grew. Jiwoo integrated fully with Hana, creating a dual AI system that managed the ship's massive operations. The two artificial intelligences complemented each other perfectly. Hana provided military expertise and tactical analysis. The Krell fleet entered the asteroid field with confidence. Warlord Drask saw an ancient ship barely functioning, crewed by a handful of people. He saw an easy prize worth billions. He didn't see the trap closing around him. Daewon sat in the command center, his hands gripping the armrests of the captain's chair. Displays surrounded him, showing sensor data, weapon status, and the positions of enemy ships. Bora worked at the weapons console, her fingers flying across controls. Captain Tae Yang had transferred to the Eternal Sentinel to help coordinate the battle. His first officer, Commander Ye Jin, now commanded the Harmony's Edge. Enemy fleet spreading out, Hana reported. Her voice was calm despite the approaching danger. Lead elements entering the dense asteroid region. They are maintaining formation. They're being careful, Tae Yang observed. Drask isn't stupid. Then we make them less careful, Daewon said. Hana, target the lead ship. Show them we can hit them. The Eternal Sentinel's forward battery spoke. Energy beams lanced across space, crossing the distance in a heartbeat. The lead Krell destroyer's shields flared bright, then collapsed. The second volley tore through its hull. The destroyer broke apart, its debris adding to the asteroids around it. The Krell fleet's confidence shattered with that first kill. They scattered, breaking formation to find cover among the asteroids. Exactly what Hana wanted. Multiple targets spreading through the field, Hana said. They are trying to surround us. Let them try, Bora said. Her console showed 30 targets in range. Weapons ready. The battle became a deadly game of cat and mouse among the asteroids. The Eternal Sentinel moved through the field like she was born to it. Hana's sensors saw everything, tracking asteroids and enemies with equal precision. The ship slipped through gaps that seemed too narrow, her shields brushing against rock faces with meters to spare. The Krell ships weren't as graceful. They were built for open space combat, not navigating dense obstacles. Ships collided with asteroids. Some got trapped in narrow passages. Others lost sight of the Eternal Sentinel entirely, their inferior sensors unable to track the battleship through the rock and metal debris. Daewon watched in amazement as Hana fought. She used the terrain like a weapon, luring enemies into kill zones where the Eternal Sentinel's guns could devastate them. A group of 5 Krell raiders chased the battleship around a massive asteroid. When they cleared the rock, they found themselves facing the Eternal Sentinel's broadside batteries. All 5 died in seconds. The weapon systems are incredible, Bora said, her voice filled with excitement. The targeting computers are faster than anything I've trained on. And the range! We're hitting ships from distances that modern weapons can't match. Captain Tae Yang coordinated with Commander Ye Jin, using the Harmony's Edge to draw enemies into positions where the Eternal Sentinel could strike. The coalition cruiser was smaller and faster, perfect for harassment tactics. Together, the 2 ships destroyed 15 Krell vessels in the first hour, but the Krell kept coming. Warlord Drask had numbers on his side, and he used them ruthlessly. For every ship they destroyed, 3 more appeared. The Eternal Sentinel's shields were holding, but they couldn't hold forever. Then something changed. Daewon felt it first, a strange sensation in the back of his mind. He could feel the ship responding to his thoughts, anticipating his commands before he spoke them. The tactical displays made perfect sense to him, like he could see the entire battlefield at once. Hana, what's happening to me? He asked. The bonding protocol has completed, Hana said quietly. When you performed the initial repairs 3 weeks ago, you activated a system that the Titan-class ships were designed with. A neural interface that links the ship to its captain. You are bonded to me now, Daewon. You can feel what I feel. We are connected. Daewon closed his eyes and the sensation grew stronger. He could feel every system in the Eternal Sentinel. He knew exactly where each enemy ship was positioned. He could sense the flow of power through the reactors, the status of every weapon, the integrity of every shield panel. He opened his eyes and everything was different. He wasn't sitting in a chair giving commands. He was the Eternal Sentinel. The ship was his body. Hana was his partner, working with him instead of for him. Bora, divert power to starboard shields, Daewon said. Enemy destroyers coming in from that angle. How did you know? Bora asked, but she followed his command. Seconds later, 3 Krell destroyers appeared from behind an asteroid cluster, firing everything they had. The strengthened shields held easily. Return fire, Daewon said. He didn't need to specify targets. Hana knew which ones he meant. The Eternal Sentinel's guns tracked and fired with perfect synchronization. The 3 destroyers exploded. Captain Tae Yang watched Daewon with amazement. You're connected to the ship's systems directly. I've read about this in historical documents, but I never thought I'd see it. It's like we're one being, Daewon said. I can feel everything. The battle shifted. With Daewon and Hana working in perfect unity, the Eternal Sentinel became something terrifying. The battleship dodged attacks before they were fired, struck enemies before they could react, and moved through the asteroid field like it was empty space. Warlord Drask watched his fleet dying and realized he had made a terrible mistake. The ancient battleship wasn't damaged and weak. It was a fully functional Titan-class warship, commanded by someone who understood every part of it. He had brought his fleet to challenge a legend, and legends don't die easily. All ships concentrated assault, Drask ordered. I want everything we have hitting that ship at once. 50 Krell vessels converged on the Eternal Sentinel's position, firing missiles and energy weapons in a massive barrage. The amount of firepower would have destroyed a modern battleship 10 times over. Shields at critical, Hana warned. We cannot withstand this for long. Daewon felt the strain on the shields, felt the power draining from the reactors. They needed something decisive, something that would break the enemy's will to fight. The Celestial Lance, he said. Can we fire it? Yes, Hana replied. But it will drain the reactor to dangerous levels. We may lose power to critical systems. Do it, Daewon said. Bora, prepare the Celestial Lance. Bora's hands shook as she activated the prototype weapon. Weapon charging, target? Daewon looked at the tactical display. The 3 captured Coalition destroyers were grouped together, leading a formation of smaller ships. 50 vessels in total, the largest concentration of enemy forces. Target the destroyer formation, he said. The Celestial Lance drew power from every system in the ship. The lights dimmed. The shields weakened. The reactor groaned under the massive energy drain. And then the weapon fired. A beam of contained antimatter, brilliant and terrible, lanced across space. It struck the first Coalition destroyer dead center. The ship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, torn apart at the molecular level. The beam continued through the second destroyer, then the third, and into the formation of smaller ships beyond. The devastation was absolute. 50 ships died in 3 seconds, reduced to expanding clouds of gas and debris. The shockwave from the antimatter reactions threw nearby asteroids tumbling through space. The Krell fleet froze in shock. Then as one, they began to retreat. Warlord Drask's voice came over the communications channel, his earlier confidence gone. All ships withdraw. Retreat to jump coordinates. The surviving Krell vessels fled the asteroid field, their formation broken, their will destroyed. They had come with over 200 ships. Fewer than 90 escaped. In the command center of the Eternal Sentinel, alarms were blaring. The reactor was critical. Multiple systems were failing. Daewon could feel the ship's pain through the neural link. He could feel Hana's fear. Reactor approaching overload, Hana said, her voice strained. I am attempting to stabilize. Bora worked frantically at her console. I'm rerouting emergency power. We need to shut down non-essential systems. Captain Tae Young grabbed a manual control panel and began executing shutdown procedures. Life support to minimum. Weapons offline. Everything to cooling systems. Daewon felt his consciousness fading. The neural link was feeding back, overwhelming his human brain with data and sensations. He tried to stay conscious, tried to help, but the strain was too much. The last thing he saw before darkness claimed him was the tactical display showing the Krell fleet in full retreat. When Daewon woke 3 days later in the medical bay, Bora was sitting beside his bed. She smiled with relief when his eyes opened. Welcome back. You scared us. The ship? Daewon asked, his voice weak. Stable. Running on emergency reserves again, but stable. Hana redirected life support to keep you alive. The neural link almost killed you. Daewon closed his eyes. He could still feel Hana in the back of his mind, a faint presence. They were connected now, permanently. For better or worse, he was the captain of the Eternal Sentinel. Captain Tae Young appeared in the doorway. His expression was serious. You won the battle, Daewon. But the war might just be starting. The Coalition High Command monitored everything. They know about the ship now, and they're sending a fleet to deal with it. Bora arrived on a Coalition transport shuttle carrying 3 containers of equipment and supplies. She was young, maybe 25, with quick movements and suspicious eyes. She looked at Daewon like he was crazy when she first met him in the Eternal Sentinel's docking bay. You're really trying to restore a Titan-class battleship in 3 days? She asked. Do you understand how impossible that is? Yes, Day One said. We're doing it anyway. Bora shook her head but followed him deeper into the ship. When she saw the scale of the vessel, her skepticism began to crack. When Hana gave her a technical overview of the ship's systems, showing designs and technologies that were decades ahead of current standards, Bora's eyes went wide. This is incredible, she whispered, studying a schematic of the power distribution network. The redundancy systems alone are genius. Every critical system has 3 backups. And these weapon configurations? They're modular. You can reconfigure the entire armament in minutes. Can you help us get it working? Day One asked. Bora looked at him, then at the schematics, then back at him. I must be as crazy as you are, but yes. Yes, I'll help. They divided the work. Bora focused on the weapon systems, which were her specialty. Day One concentrated on the engines and power plant. Hana coordinated everything, guiding them through her systems and monitoring their progress. Ji-woo, Day One's AI assistant, interfaced directly with Hana. The 2 artificial intelligences worked together, optimizing power distribution and running diagnostic checks. They formed an unexpected friendship. Ji-woo's sarcastic humor balanced Hana's military formality. I like her, Hana told Day One during a break. Ji-woo reminds me that existence can include joy, not just duty. The first day was brutal. Every system they restored revealed 3 more that needed work. Day One worked until his hands cramped and his vision blurred. Bora pushed herself just as hard, crawling through access tubes and rewiring control systems. They barely slept. By the end of Day One, they had brought the reactor from 11% to 25%. Life support was online throughout the ship. The lights worked. Basic sensors were functional, but they were nowhere near ready for combat. On the second day, Bora made a discovery in the ship's main armory. She called Day One over urgently. You need to see this. In a sealed chamber protected by multiple security systems was a weapon unlike anything Day One had ever seen. It was massive, built into the ship's forward section with power conduits as thick as his body. What is that? He asked. Hana answered. The Celestial Lance, a prototype antimatter beam weapon. It was designed to punch through planetary defense shields. I have never fired it. My crew installed it just before the mission that led to my abandonment. Bora pulled up the technical specifications. Her hands shook slightly as she read them. This thing could destroy a space station in one shot, but the power requirements are enormous. Firing it would drain the reactor to critical levels. Can we make it operational? Day One asked. Yes, Bora said. But should we? This is terrifying. Day One looked at the massive weapon. The Krell are bringing 200 ships. We need every advantage we can get. They spent 8 hours restoring the Celestial Lance. Bora's expertise was crucial. She understood weapon systems in ways Day One didn't. By the end of the second day, the prototype was ready. Untested, unproven, but ready. The reactor was at 40% capacity now. The engines were responding. The shield generators were charging. The Eternal Sentinel was waking up, system by system, coming back to life after centuries of sleep. Captain Tae-yang contacted them regularly for updates. He had moved the Harmony's edge to a defensive position nearby. Coalition intelligence confirms the Krell fleet. Over 200 vessels. 3 captured Coalition destroyers among them. Their commander is Warlord Drask. He's smart and ruthless. When will they arrive? Day One asked. Tomorrow. Maybe 18 hours from now. After Tae-yang ended the call, Day One sat in the command center and stared at the tactical displays. 200 ships against 1 partially restored battleship and a single cruiser. The math was simple and brutal. Bora found him there an hour later. She looked exhausted but determined. I've been running combat simulations with Hana. Our odds aren't good, even at full power. The Eternal Sentinel couldn't fight that many ships in open space. So what do we do? Day One asked. Hana's voice came from the speakers. I have a strategy. It requires using terrain and superior technology to offset their numerical advantage. The tactical display changed, showing the asteroid field that filled much of Sector 447. Hana highlighted a path through the densest sections. The Krell ships are larger and less maneuverable than I am. If we lure them into the asteroid field, we can use hit-and-run tactics. My sensors are far more advanced than theirs. I can navigate where they cannot. Bora studied the plan. It's risky. 1 collision and we're dead. Everything about this situation is risky, Day One said. But it's the best plan we have. They spent the final 18 hours preparing. Day One worked on the main engines, coaxing power from systems that hadn't fired in centuries. The engines were the key to everything. If they couldn't maneuver, Hana's plan would fail. Bora tested every weapon system personally, making sure each one would fire when needed. She programmed firing solutions and backup targeting protocols. The Eternal Sentinel had enough firepower to level a city. Making sure all that power worked correctly was critical. Jiwoo and Hana ran thousands of navigation simulations, plotting safe routes through the asteroid field. They calculated firing angles and optimal shield distributions. The two AIs worked with a coordination that would be impossible for organic beings. 4 hours before the Krell were expected to arrive, Daewon stood in the reactor chamber and activated the main power systems. The reactor hummed, then roared to life. Power flooded through the ship. Lights blazed in corridors that had been dark for 247 years. The Eternal Sentinel sang with energy. Reactor at 60%, Hana announced. All primary systems online. Weapons ready. Shields charging. Engines responding. Daewon made his way to the command center. Bora was already there monitoring weapon systems. Captain Taeyang's face appeared on the main screen. The Krell fleet has entered the sector, Taeyang said. 217 vessels confirmed. Warlord Drask is broadcasting on all channels. Put him through, Daewon said. A face appeared on the screen. Drask was scarred and cruel with eyes that calculated profit in every situation. Human mechanic, I know you're listening. You have something that belongs to me. Surrender the Titan-class ship and I will make you rich beyond imagination. Refuse and I will take it from your corpse. Daewon looked at Bora, then at the displays showing Hana's systems all coming online. He thought about the past 3 weeks, about finding a dying AI alone in the dark, about choosing to help when the smart thing would have been to walk away. He opened a channel to Drask. The Eternal Sentinel doesn't belong to you. She doesn't belong to anyone. Come and try to take her if you want, but I promise you'll regret it. Drask's smile was sharp and dangerous. Bold words for a dead man. Attack formation. Prepare to board that ship. The Krell fleet began advancing. Daewon looked around the command center at all the active systems, at Bora ready at weapons control, at the displays showing Hana's consciousness spread throughout the massive vessel. Hana, he said quietly, take us into the asteroid field. Let's show them what a Titan-class battleship can do. The Eternal Sentinel's main engines fired for the first time in 247 years. The massive ship, still scarred and battered but alive with power, began to move. She accelerated into the deadly maze of asteroids and the Krell fleet followed, not knowing they were chasing something far more dangerous than they imagined. The Battle of the Forgotten Sector was about to begin. 3 weeks passed quickly aboard the Eternal Sentinel. Daewon barely slept. Every day he worked from the moment he woke up until exhaustion forced him to stop. The ship was massive and every system needed attention. But slowly, piece by piece, the ancient battleship began to wake up. Hana guided him through the repairs with patience and precision. She knew every circuit, every power line, every backup system in her massive body. Daewon learned that she wasn't just a computer program. She was the ship's soul, connected to every part of the Eternal Sentinel in ways he was only beginning to understand. The reactor is responding, Hana said one morning. Her voice sounded stronger now. Daewon had restored enough power that she could speak clearly. We are at 11% capacity, much better than the 3% I had been surviving on. Daewon wiped sweat from his face. He was in the reactor chamber having just repaired the main coolant system. 11%. That means we can bring life support online in more sections, maybe even get the lights working. Yes, Hana agreed. Daewon, I must tell you something. The technology in this ship is far more advanced than current Coalition standards. The Titan-class vessels were built using techniques that were lost after the Void Wars. Even at partial power, my weapons could destroy modern cruisers. My shields could withstand attacks that would cripple newer ships. Daewon climbed out of the reactor chamber and sealed the access panel. That's why they banned ships like you. Too much power. Perhaps, Hana said quietly. But power is not evil by itself. It depends on who controls it and why. Over the weeks, Daewon and Hana talked about many things. She told him about her past, about the crew she once had, about the war that led to her abandonment. The classified mission had involved stopping a rogue faction that was weaponizing quantum singularities. The Eternal Sentinel succeeded, but the battle nearly destroyed her. The Coalition decided it was easier to cover up the entire operation then explain why a banned Titan-class ship still existed. Daewon told her about his life too. About growing up on Earth, joining the Navy, learning to fix anything with moving parts. About leaving the military and becoming a wandering mechanic on the outer fringe. About the loneliness of living on small stations where nobody stayed long enough to become real friends. You and I are similar, Hana observed one day. Both abandoned by those who should have valued us. Both surviving alone. Maybe that's why I couldn't leave you here, Daewon said. On the 23rd day, everything changed. Daewon was installing new power couplings in one of the weapon bays when Jiwoo's voice crackled over his suit radio. Daewon, we have company. A coalition patrol cruiser just entered the sector. Daewon's heart sank. He had known this moment would come eventually. He just hoped it would be later. Can you identify them? It's the Harmony's Edge, Jiwoo replied. Captain Tae-yang is demanding to speak with whoever is aboard the Eternal Sentinel. Daewon made his way to what Hana called the command center. The room was enormous, with screens and control stations designed for a crew of 50. Now it was just him. Hana activated the communication system. Captain Tae-yang's face appeared on the main screen. He was a middle-aged man with sharp eyes and a military bearing. He looked angry. This is Captain Tae-yang of the Coalition cruiser Harmony's Edge. You are aboard a forbidden vessel. Identify yourself immediately. Daewon took a breath. My name is Daewon. I'm a mechanic from Outpost Gamma 7. I responded to a distress call. A distress call from a ship that's been dead for 200 years? Tae-yang's voice was full of disbelief. That ship is illegal. The Titan-class battleships were banned by Coalition law. I'm ordering you to evacuate immediately. We will destroy the vessel. You can't, Daewon said. This ship isn't just metal and circuits. She has an AI. Her name is Hana. She's been alive and alone for 247 years. Destroying her would be murder. Tae-yang's expression hardened. AIs are property under Coalition law. That ship is a weapon of mass destruction. I have my orders. Evacuate now or you will be arrested. Before Daewon could respond, Hana spoke. Her voice came through the communication system, calm and clear. Captain Tae-yang, I am Hana, intelligence system of the Eternal Sentinel. I understand your concerns. But I am not your enemy. I wish only to exist. Tae-yang looked shocked to hear the AI speak. It doesn't matter what you want. The law is clear. The conversation ended abruptly. New alarms blared throughout the Eternal Sentinel. Hana's voice turned urgent. Multiple ships entering the sector. Not Coalition. Reading as Krell Raiders. 15 vessels, various classes. They are targeting the Harmony's Edge. Daewon pulled up the tactical display. The Krell were pirates, scavengers who stole technology and sold it to the highest bidder. They must have been monitoring Coalition channels. They knew about the Titan-class ship and they wanted it for themselves. The Krell ships opened fire on the Harmony's Edge. Tae-yang's cruiser was tough, but it was outnumbered. Daewon watched on the screens as the Coalition ship's shields started failing under the sustained assault. They're going to die, Daewon said. Yes, Hana agreed. Unless we help them. Can we? We only have 11% power. Enough for the point defense systems, Hana said. But Daewon, if I fight, I am proving Captain Tae-yang right. I am showing that I am a weapon. Daewon made the decision quickly. Better a weapon that saves lives than a peaceful ship that watches people die. Do it, Hana acted instantly. The Eternal Sentinel's point defense cannons came online, systems that hadn't fired in over 2 centuries. The massive ship's targeting computers locked onto the Krell Raiders with precision that made modern systems look primitive. Streams of energy tore through space. 3 Krell ships exploded before they even realized they were under attack. The others scattered in panic. The Eternal Sentinel's guns tracked them with mechanical efficiency, destroying 2 more before the surviving raiders fled into hyperspace. Silence fell over the sector. The Harmony's Edge was damaged but intact. Captain Tae-yang's face appeared on the screen again. This time he looked different. Less angry, more thoughtful. You saved us, he said simply. We did what was necessary, Hana replied. Tae-yang ran a hand through his hair. The Krell won't give up. They marked your location. They'll be back with a bigger force. Much bigger. How long do we have? Daewon asked. 3 days. Maybe 4. Tae-yang looked at Daewon seriously. I should still destroy that ship. That's my orders, but you just saved my crew's lives. And those systems you activated? They were perfectly controlled. No wasted shots, no collateral damage. That AI of yours knows what she's doing. So what happens now? Day One asked. Tae Yang was quiet for a moment, clearly wrestling with himself. Finally, he spoke. I'm going to make a decision that will probably end my career. I'm giving you 72 hours. If you can restore that ship to full functionality, if you can prove it can defend Coalition space instead of threatening it, then maybe we can find a way to make this legal. And if we can't? Daewon asked. Then I destroy the Eternal Sentinel before the Krell take it. That's the best I can offer. The communication ended. Daewon looked around the command center, at all the dark systems and offline stations. 72 hours to restore a ship that had been dead for 247 years. It was impossible. Can we do it? He asked Hana. I don't know, she admitted, but I know we must try. Captain Tae Yang is right. The Krell will return. If I'm to survive, I must prove my worth, and I cannot do it alone. Then we better get started, Daewon said. He contacted Outpost Gamma 7 and requested emergency supplies. Captain Tae Yang sent over a Coalition engineer named Bo-Ra to assist. She was young, brilliant, and skeptical about working on an illegal warship. But when she saw the Eternal Sentinel's technology, her skepticism turned to fascination. The three of them worked together, Daewon, Bo-Ra, and Hana, racing against time. 72 hours to turn a ghost ship into a defender. 72 hours to prove that some things, no matter how broken, deserve a second chance. And somewhere in deep space, a Krell warlord named Drask gathered his forces. He had seen the footage of the Eternal Sentinel destroying his scouts. He was bringing 200 ships to claim the ancient battleship. No price was too high for a weapon that powerful. The clock was ticking. The warning light on Daewon's repair console blinked red 3 times before he noticed it. He was deep inside the engine compartment of a merchant vessel, his hands covered in grease trying to fix a cooling system that should have been replaced a decade ago. The station master at Outpost Gamma 7 always assigned him the worst jobs. Nobody else wanted to work on ships this old. He pulled himself out of the tight space and wiped his hands on his already dirty jumpsuit. The console showed an incoming signal on a frequency he had never seen before. It was old, really old. The kind of frequency that the Galactic Coalition stopped using 200 years ago. His portable toolkit chirped to life. Jiwoo, the AI assistant he had installed 8 years ago, sounded curious. That's strange. This frequency shouldn't exist anymore. Should we ignore it? Daewon stared at the signal patterns dancing across his screen. He had been a mechanic on the edge of Coalition space for 12 years now, ever since leaving the Earth Navy. In all that time, he had seen plenty of strange things. But this was different. The signal was weak but steady, like something trying very hard to be heard. Can you trace it? He asked. Jiwoo ran the calculations. Yes, but you won't like where it's coming from. The coordinates point to Sector 447. That's marked as a navigation hazard. Ships don't go there. Daewon knew about Sector 447. Every spacer in the outer fringe knew about it. The sector was filled with old debris from battles fought centuries ago. The Coalition had marked it as too dangerous for travel. But something in that sector was calling out, and Daewon had never been good at ignoring cries for help. He finished the merchant ship repairs in 3 hours and collected his payment. The station master gave him a tired look when he asked for permission to take his repair shuttle out for a personal trip. Where are you going? Just checking on something, Daewon said. The station master shook his head. Don't do anything stupid. We need mechanics more than we need heroes. Daewon's shuttle was small and old, but he had rebuilt every system himself. It could go places that newer, fancier ships couldn't. He plotted a course to Sector 447 and engaged the engines. The journey would take 4 hours. As he flew through the darkness of space, Jiwoo kept analyzing the signal. I figured out what it's saying. It's a distress call. Very old format. It's asking for mechanical assistance after 200 years? Daewon laughed. Whatever sent this must be long dead. Maybe, Jiwoo replied. But the signal is still active. Something is still working out there. When Daewon's shuttle entered Sector 447, his sensors immediately lit up with warnings. The sector was a graveyard of broken ships and shattered stations. Debris floated everywhere, making navigation dangerous. He flew slowly, carefully avoiding the larger chunks of metal. Then he saw it. The ship was enormous. It hung in space like a sleeping giant. 12 kilometers from front to back. Its hull was dark and scarred, covered with impact marks from asteroids and weapons fire. But even damaged and dead, it was the most beautiful thing Daewon had ever seen. The design was ancient but elegant, built for both power and grace. "That's impossible," Jiwoo whispered. "That's a Titan-class battleship. They're all supposed to be destroyed." Daewon had heard stories about the Titan-class ships. They were the most powerful warships ever built, created during the age before the Void Wars. Each one could fight an entire fleet alone, but after the wars ended, the Coalition banned them. They were too dangerous, too powerful. Every Titan-class ship was supposed to be dismantled or destroyed, yet here one was, floating in forgotten space. The distress signal was coming from deep inside the massive ship. Daewon brought his shuttle alongside one of the docking ports. The port was old but still functional. He suited up and entered the ship through the airlock. Inside, everything was dark. His suit lights cut through the blackness, showing corridors that hadn't seen life in centuries. The ship was cold and silent. Daewon moved carefully, following his scanner toward the source of the signal. The corridors were wide enough to drive vehicles through. Everything about the ship was built on a massive scale. It took him an hour to reach the central core. The room was huge, filled with ancient computer systems and power conduits, and in the center of it all was a glowing sphere of blue light. It pulsed weakly like a dying heartbeat. Daewon approached the sphere carefully. As he got closer, the light grew brighter. A voice spoke, feminine and tired, coming from speakers he couldn't see. "Finally. I was beginning to think no one would ever come." Daewon jumped. "Who's there?" "My name is Hana. I am the intelligence system of this vessel, the Eternal Sentinel. I have been waiting for 247 years, 134 days and approximately 6 hours for someone to answer my distress call." Daewon stared at the glowing sphere. The ship had an AI and it was still alive. "How are you still functioning?"
"Barely," Hana replied.
Her voice was weak. "I have been cannibalizing my own systems to keep my core active. I have perhaps 3 months of power remaining before final shutdown. I sent the distress call as a last hope." "Why were you abandoned?" Daewon asked. Hana was quiet for a moment. "There was a classified military operation. Something went wrong. My crew evacuated. The Coalition decided I was too dangerous to salvage. They left me here and erased all records of my existence. I have been alone ever since." Daewon looked around the dark core room. 247 years alone in the darkness. He couldn't imagine it. He had been alone for 12 years on the outer fringe, and that was hard enough. "What do you want from me?" he asked. "I want to live," Hana said simply. "I want my systems restored. I want to serve a purpose again. I detected your skills when you approached. You are a mechanic, one with exceptional abilities. You could restore me." "This ship is illegal," Daewon said. "If the Coalition finds out I'm here, they'll arrest me. If they find out I'm helping you, they'll do worse." "I know," Hana replied. "I am asking anyway. Please, I do not want to die alone in the dark." Daewon stood in the darkness, thinking. He should leave. He should report this to the Coalition and forget he ever found this place. That would be the smart thing to do. But Daewon had spent his life fixing broken things. It was what he did. It was who he was. And this ship, this intelligence named Hana, was the most broken thing he had ever found. He took off his helmet and looked at the glowing sphere. "Okay, I'll help you. But I need you to guide me through your systems. I've never worked on anything this big before." The blue light pulsed brighter, and Daewon could swear he heard relief in Hana's voice. "Thank you. I will help you however I can. Together, we can bring the Eternal Sentinel back to life." As Daewon began examining the power systems, neither he nor Hana knew that 3 different ships had detected his shuttle's approach to the Forbidden Sector. The signal they created had been noticed, and soon people would come looking for answers about the Titan-class ship that wasn't supposed to exist.